Welcome to Nerdio WVD Demo of the Day video series. In today's video, we will review a newly available dashboard for monitoring applications performance and utilization on a per user, per session host basis, which is available in the Nerdio Manager starting with version 2.4. So you'll notice under your monitoring menu, assuming that the Sepago monitoring is enabled in your environment, a new dashboard called Applications. If we open it up, we will see a Nerdio, a log analytics workbook that's designed by Nerdio. You can select what host pools you want to focus on. You can select your time range and the time zone for all the various date stamps. And then let's go through the available graphs and lists that are available in this particular workbook. So the first thing we get is the total CPU usage, which is the percentage of CPU usage times the number of minutes that each application runs. That gives us sort of a relative comparison of how much app utilization on the aggregate there was over this time period, which is 7 days. And what we can do is we can find any spikes of high utilization and we can zoom into them by just selecting around them and doing this type of a zoom in. Then we have a similar type of analysis that's based on RAM usage, whereas the number of bytes times the number of minutes that are consumed by the various applications across all of the host pools in our environment. And again, we can narrow this down to individual host pools. And we also have a perspective using disk IO. So these are basically disk IOPS. And you can see that there is obviously a kind of a daily seasonality here, so to speak, where there's more utilization throughout the week and not so much on the weekend. So this is a very high level perspective on when and how much utilization our environment is getting from the various applications that are running inside of it. If we scroll down, what we'll notice is that there is a graph called utilization by application in whatever host pools we've selected. In our case, it's all host pools over whatever time period we've chosen, which in this case is basically this spike, which is September 9th through September, so 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. on the same day. This graph shows us the various applications and it sorts it by the application that has produced the most amount of CPU usage. And if we scroll to the right, you can see similar information about the RAM usage and also the disk IO usage. So we have both the aggregate usage as well as the average usage, and we can sort it any way we want. And then if we want to dig into a specific application and understand more about it, we select any one of these apps. In this case, this is Microsoft Edge. It will show us who were the users that were using this application over this period of time and what was their utilization based on this application. So here we can see the per user utilization of each of the apps. And on the per user basis, we can see how much percent time the number of minutes the application ran, what the average CPU consumption was, how much RAM was consumed by that application over the period of time, disk IO, and also see the runtime of that application. Now you can see in this particular case, the application was really running for about the same amount of time for all of the users. That's because it must have been opened on the user's desktops at that time, being that it's Edge, it probably was open throughout the session. So this gives you a way to dig into a particular application and look at it on a per user basis. Let's keep going down our dashboard here. As we go down, we have another section where we can analyze individual applications over the period of time, and we can select the ones that are interesting to us. So for example, let's look at the browsers, or let's look at the applications that have consumed the most resources. So we can check Edge, Teams, Chrome, and see what that looks like. This is going to give us some overlapping graphs here showing us which applications were used how much from a CPU perspective over what day of week. We can do a similar thing with various applications and processes for memory and for disk I/O. And then we can look at application usage on a per user basis. So if we want to analyze, okay, what applications was a particular user using, we can go down into this section and we can see what apps and how much utilization that particular user had in the host pool across all of their apps. If we click on a particular user, we can then select the applications we're interested in monitoring. So for example, there may be a business app that we want to see how much this particular user was leveraging over the past week. So what we can do is we can select that particular app from the list. I don't really have a good example here in this demo environment, but let's say it's Notepad. And once we click on Notepad, that will show us how much usage in minutes that particular app was getting over the selected time frame. And then finally, at the bottom here, we can look at a daily breakdown of how long each application was being used on that particular day. So if we select multiple applications from the list, let's look at Notepad, Edge, and maybe Chrome. Looks like this user may not be using Chrome. So let's select, I don't know, OneNote, for instance. And as we click on that, we can then see on a per day basis, per application basis for this particular user, what the application usage was. So this lets us monitor user productivity, what applications they're using, and how much usage a particular application is getting. So this is our application dashboard. It's available in version 2.4 of the Nerdio Manager. And I hope you found this useful, and I'll see you in the next video.